Hello, my name's Chris. I'm one of the technicians in the film and TV department. I'm going to be talking you through how to use the Zoom F6 mixer recorder today. So yes, starting out with the Zoom F6, when you've booked the kit out, you will go and collect it and it will come in this bag. You need to double check that you have everything in the bag before you leave the department. There will be a checklist, so it's down to you to double check all of your equipment. Right, so I'll just quickly run through what's actually in the bag. So you will have a little pouch with the microphone in. This is a Rode NTG4. That is what's called a boom mic or directional microphone. Then you have the little softie. You have the pistol grip for the mic. The mics are very sensitive, so you need to use the cradle. A set of headphones there. There should be 2 XLR cables. So these are microphone cables. Sometimes you will need to daisy chain them together to get some extra length. But most of the time, one cable is enough for what you need to do. Finally, we have the Zoom mixer recorder itself. So this mixer is called a Zoom F6, and the 6 refers to the number of microphone inputs. So there are 6 inputs on this mixer, meaning you can plug up to 6 microphones into it. Generally, we only provide 1 boom mic in the kit. You can also book further radio mics or lapel mics, similar to this one, if you require additional microphones. But most of the time, a single boom mic will be enough for what you will need to do. And the bag is sort of a waist strap. So on the top of the bag, you have the mixer and all the controls. Underneath is the little SD card slot, and there'll be an SD card in there already when you collect it. To actually get the mixer on, you need a battery. The batteries you will collect separately. The battery also has a charger, and the charger is in the bag. You need to make sure that the battery is fully charged before you go out on your shoot. The mixers do also take AA batteries, so if you find yourself in a predicament without a charged external battery, you can use AA batteries. To attach the battery itself, those prongs go into those holes. Like so. Make sure it's nice and tight and it's not going to come off. And so the battery is now connected and we can turn the mixer on. So far we've seen the front panel and the back panel. There are panels on each side as well with a little zip. So if we open up the zip panels on, so that is the right-hand side of the mixer as you are looking at it. Then on this side, there is actually a power button just here. So press that one on. Usually press and hold that for a couple of seconds, and you'll see the mixer light up. So before I go into plugging the microphones in, there are a few settings that we need to make sure we've got correct. To navigate around the mixer, there are 2 buttons on the left side of the screen and 2 buttons on the right side of the screen. You have the normal sort of transport controls underneath, play, stop, record, pause, etc. and then you have the level controls for each channel up the sides. The button up on the top left is the menu button. So when I press that button, it will open up the menu. You can use the arrow keys on the other side to navigate up and down the menus. And I can use the select button to select the menu option that I require. First thing you do when you're setting up your sound kit is format the SD card, okay? There will always be the previous user's recordings still on the SD card. It's very important that you format the SD card. So the first thing I'm going to do is go down to the System menu, select System, and at the top we have SD card. SD card option selected, and now I can scroll down to Format, select Format, and scroll across to Execute. Select Execute, and it's done. I'm going to stay in the System menu, and inside the System menu I've got a couple of other settings that I want to go through. Scrolling down to Settings, Select, and Date and Time. I'm going to select Date and Time. I'm going to go into Set Date and Time. And I'm just going to double check that I have the correct date and time set in here. It's important that we get the correct date and time set up because it relates to how the time code works. Even if we're not using time code, it will give a metadata timestamp for all of your clips, so that you will have the correct date and time embedded in those clips somewhere, which will be useful at some point when you're trying to organize all of your material. Staying in the main menu, I'm going to go up to Rec or Record. I'm going to select Rec, and I've got a few settings in here that I need to look at. The first one being metadata. If I scroll to metadata and select metadata, all we're suggesting is that you use the middle one there, note, and you can add a little note to your file names. Could be a group name and a film title. If you just add that note in, you will have metadata tagged to your files. Still in the Record menu, I am going up one to File Format, and File Format needs to be set to poly, okay? What this means is it will record each individual track, any track that has a microphone plugged in and the track is armed, it will record that track separately. So as well as giving you a left and right main stereo output, it will also give you each individual track as a recording, okay? Still in the Record menu, the main settings which will determine the quality of your audio are sample rate. It's standard when recording audio for moving image, the sample rate be set to 48 kilohertz. So that's correct, that's fine. And then above this, if I just select the mode, then we have our different bit rate options. Recent audio equipment that is coming out at the moment has a new bitrate setting called 32-bit float. 32-bit float is the most recent technology. It has massive advantages for video recording. So we are selecting 32-bit float. Okay, I will explain a little bit more about how 32-bit float works, but that is the option that we need to select for now. There are more settings that we need to go through in a minute, but we can do that as we are setting the actual mixer up. Okay, so let's get to actually plugging in our equipment. Plugging in the microphone itself, I take the pouch. This is a directional microphone and it clips into the pistol grip. These are very sensitive mics, so you cradle it in this so you don't get any sort of extraneous kind of knocking sounds as you're working. Then you have the XLR cable, the microphone cable. All microphone XLR cables are the same. They have a male end and a female end. The female end goes into the microphone, clicks in. They also have a little locking mechanism. When you remove the cable from the microphone, make sure you engage or disengage the locking mechanism. You can literally rip the inside of the microphone out, okay? We have had mics destroyed in that way, so please be careful when you are taking the cables out. So the other end goes into the mixer itself. So the male end goes into the mixer, and this time we're going to put this onto the left-hand side as we're looking at it. The male end now goes into channel 1. The technical name for this microphone is a condenser mic, and all condenser mics require power to work. The power comes from the mixer down the cable itself, so you just need to make sure that the power is switched on the mixer. Into the menu, we're going to go up to input, select input and scroll here, phantom settings. The power that comes from the mixer that powers the mic is called phantom power. Phantom settings, select voltage 48 volts, which is correct. Then we come out of that one and go up to this menu item here, PFL. Select PFL. If we select input 1, and I'm now scrolling down to source, okay? And I'm going to select source, and I'm just going to make sure that I am on mic and PH, which stands for phantom. Okay, so it's mic level with phantom power, and that's what we want. The next important option is you see the level control for each input. So we've got 6 mic inputs, 6 level controls, all labeled. Just turn it up slightly, the light comes on. So track 1 is now on. And as I turn the level up for this, you will start to see level meters. So you can see that's indicated on track 1 and also our main left and right outputs. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do actually is how to plug in a lapel mic. The lapel mic is going to go into input 2. So while we're in this menu, I'm going to select the correct settings for input 2. So if I scroll to input 2, select here, and my settings here need to be mic level. So which is what it's on. I'm just going to select that and show you the options. Mic level is the one that we want, but not phantom power. Okay, we don't need to send phantom power to the lapel radio mics. These mics have their own built-in phantom power, so we don't need to send that to them. So let's now plug in our lapel mic or our radio mic and see if we can get a level for track 2 as well. So this is our Sony lapel radio mic. To set up these radio mics or lapel mics, I need the microphone and transmitter, which I would connect to myself or whoever I'm recording. Then I attach the receiver to the mixer case, and the receiver will have a mini jack to XLR. So the mini jack goes into the receiver and the XLR goes into input 2. Making sure we have power on for the transmitter. We've got green lights, so that's good. And power on for our receiver as well. Power on switch is just here. So we have our boom mic in input 1 and our radio mic in input 2. We have channel 1 turned on previously, and so now I need to turn on channel 2. We just need to turn channel 2 on the mixer, and we now have levels on channel 2. So we have our boom mic and our radio mic showing levels. Even though we can see that we have an audio signal, we're working with sound here, obviously, so we need to be able to hear what we're doing. So, headphones. Headphones plug into the right-hand side as you're looking at the mixer. You will see the headphone socket. This is a mini jack, 3.5mm mini jack goes into the mini jack socket. There are 2 mini jack sockets on this side. One is for receiving and sending timecode, which we will get into in another video. This one is for the headphones. Just next to the input, there is a headphone level control. With headphones on, listening to your signal, as you start moving the scroll wheel, it will display on screen. You want your level to be somewhere around 80. You don't want to be using the headphone control to determine the strength of your signal. The headphone control is simply for listening. Okay, so you do not want to be changing the headphone level control while you're working. Any level control needs to be done with the individual track controls. Up the side of this screen is the decibel range. Somewhere between -12 and -24 is where you want your signal to be set. Once you've got your mic positioned, set your recording level with your level controls. The level meters should be bouncing around -24 to -12. So for me, that's somewhere around about there. And level 2, same. Once we have it set to 32-bit float, at the point at which you press record, you will no longer be able to change that setting. Okay? Once we press record, if I move the level control, you'll see that on the actual track, it's not changing. So on track 1 and track 2, it's staying exactly in the middle there, okay? Even as I'm moving this level control. You will see that on the output, it is changing. The main outputs, left and right, that's massively blowing out now, so we're overloading our signal. However, even your overloaded signal will be usable. Essentially, you don't need to worry too much about overloading our signal because you will always get a usable signal with 32-bit float recording. Once you get your audio into Resolve, where you'll be editing, you will be able to rescue that audio. If it's massively overloaded, all you do is turn it down and you will get a usable signal again. Very important then that you do set to 32-bit float, because if you set to anything else, any overloaded signal will be unusable. Remember, when you're shooting sound separately from picture, which we are with the F6, the sound kit is not connected to the camera in any way, so we end up with 2 separate folders of files. one with video and one with sound. You must then sync your video and audio in post in Resolve. There are several ways to do this depending on how you've shot and which cameras you've used. You can sync with timecode, waveforms, or manually with a clapper. Look out for the videos on syncing to learn how to do this. If you're interested in learning more, look out for all our in-house videos on production and post-production techniques on the University of Bristol FTV YouTube site. Also, see our curated playlists of filmmaking videos by various YouTubers. Okay, thanks for watching.